call the January 22nd, 2014 Airport Advisory Commission to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Yes. I'm a saluter.
Three musketeers.
Okay, roll call.
I'll show that everyone's here.
Okay. Okay, verification of agenda posting.
It was posted according to law, on the appropriate date and time and by the appropriate code that I don't have with me.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I have a pretty bad cold and I'm fading fast here.
It'll be a fast meeting.
Does it affect your memory and things?
It may. Depends on how deep in the budget you want to go.
Okay, consent and approve the minutes of the special meeting November 10th, 2013. Do we have any discussion by the members?
I got,
Pardon? Your mic.
It's on. 1, 2, 3.
yes, so I'm not sure I have a correction necessarily. I want to make sure what I read here is correct. It said the turf tires have 5 years of use on them. This is on new business from the minutes. That's what you're talking about, right?
Where were you at?
On the second back page. The consent is these minutes, right?
Right.
And it talks about turf tires having 5 years of use on them and using them on the ramp and taxiways and runways has run them out more quickly. So I'm trying to understand, was this a correct statement, what it said here?
Let's strike that one.
Strike the sentence? Okay.
Them on the
Then,
ramp.
all right, then strike the sentence, because it was just getting me a little confused with what we were buying and what we had.
It is so stricken.
Thank you. That's fine.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved as corrected.
Okay. All in favor?
A second. And,
You didn't second.
well, now I've seconded.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carried. Okay, public input. Do we have any speaker cards this evening?
I have not received any.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to reports. The air show. Item 7A.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on the wrong
It's
page.
got-
Uh,
So
okay,
we've
the Skydive Center. Sorry
We've
about
completed refurbishing the dingling and putting it back to just a office space type use. We removed the plumbing. In fact, we just had to change the sewer line out today because it was, and I don't know where this root came from, but there was a root blocking the sewer line behind the building where there hasn't been a tree in, I can't tell you how long, and the nearest tree was 60 feet away. So either the telephone pole grew roots or something, but there was a root that had worked a big mass into the pipe, and so we had to change all that. That just happened today. But we spent $6,200 on paint, electrical, and tile flooring. I think it was very nice. Mako and crew are very happy. I am very happy with the results. It eliminated some issues that we had with FAA and TSA by eliminating their little hangout area inside the secure area of the airport. Now they only enter it to get onto the airplane and leave. So all in all, it appears to be working quite well, and this money was well spent.
So what was the rent and what is the new rent, the new facility? Rough numbers.
I'm thinking it was $1,400 and the new one's like $550 around in there. It's about half the size, or maybe even a little less. I know the new one's 1,200 square feet. I can't remember what the old one was.
Was generally at the same rate, though?
Yes, it is at the same rate,
Thank you.
which is about 45, 50 cents a square foot.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, item 2, disc purchase.
So we purchased the discs and the set of tractor tires. As you're aware, I took a supplemental appropriation to the city council for $15,000 to do that. The total price was $8,309. Discs should be in, I'm guessing by the end of February, because there was a 2-month lead time on that. We have the tires in the shop, so we're good to go there. Mission accomplished, and we saved some money.
Now, what, these new tires, are they, what's different about them and the old?
They're real tractor tires with the, the heavy ridge
Okay.
on them. We currently have turf tires, which have very little traction.
Okay.
And whenever we got into a situation, and Doug will attest to this because he drove the tractor, but anytime you get in a situation where there's a little bit of mud, those tires just loaded up and they were like dragster slicks after that. And oftentimes the tractor got stuck. There's more can attest to that. And it was a pain. So, and these tires that we purchased came with the wheels. So we can just swap out the wheels and go from there.
Yeah, I noticed the tires on the tractor now don't look that bad, that's why I asked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
we have not put the new ones on.
Okay. Item 3, new maintenance person hired.
We were able to fill our part-time maintenance position that's been vacant for about 3 months. Our new person's name is Ronnie Revukaba, sorry. Anyway, when you see him out there, say hi, Ronnie. He's a good guy, lots of skills. He's had previous experience as with a painting crew for parking lots and stuff. So I'm sure we'll be using, in fact, we already did use his painting skills, and he knows what he's doing. So he's a good, vital asset to the airport team.
Is this a part-time?
This is a part-time 20-hour-a-week position, or 40-hour-a-week during the wheat growing season. It's a 1,000-hour-a-year position.
This is just the airport, this is city, he's not full-time citywide?
He is not full-time citywide. He just works at the airport 1,000 hours in a calendar year.
Okay.
And yes, we budgeted for it.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay, the next item is the maintenance job description, the update.
So last night, city council meeting, the city council voted unanimously to approve updating the airport maintenance and operations specialist job description. I took, it last was updated 18 years ago, and I took that job description, I put in some of the I'm going to use the word modern for lack of a better word, modern requirements of the position, like the pesticide applicator licenses and the Class A driver's license to operate, dump trucks and stuff like that. And I made the pay rate equivalent to a senior maintenance worker, which is what the airport had been paying in the past. So I now need to do an internal recruitment to fill this position.
Why is that senior?
Why is it a senior position? Because I have a Class A driver's license, a pesticide applicator's license, and the higher level certificates than the maintenance worker wanted to. And the real important thing about getting this done is once we're able to fill this position or replace the position that we have now with this position, I can finally evaluate them on airport-specific skills and duties. I'm currently having to evaluate the maintenance staff on a job description that specifically talks about park maintenance, specifically talks about street maintenance, and it specifically talks about sewer and water maintenance. And it has nothing to do with the skills and techniques that you use out at the airport. This does. So it's a lot fairer for the employee to have a job description that follows what you actually are doing, rather than hold them accountable for stuff that isn't even there. You can only stretch the other duties as assigned so far when you're asking somebody to do a job.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to taxiway sign lighting.
It's actually the runway lights. Several of the runway lights were out, if you noticed, if you've been out flying. I believe we got about 80% of them working. We had to order new fixtures for, I think, 3 spots, and they were on 2-4, and we ordered the runover kind, so the gliders won't have a problem. One of the fixtures, when we took it apart to repair it, it's a runover type fixture, but it's like from SFO. It's rated for like 747s to run over it. And we pulled it up, and somebody had taken 2 strips of metal and attached them underneath this fixture, and then stuck a taxi light fixture just being held on by these 2 strips of metal. We will be hanging it on the wall in the airport conference room when we succeed in getting the new one and replace it. But anyway, it's always an adventure when you start repairing stuff out there. The windsock at the 1-3 end is out electrical-wise, and I'm turning that back to Don Chapin under a warranty. I placed a call yesterday. I haven't heard back.
Speaking of lights, is the PAPI up?
The PAPI is not up. Something's going on. And we don't know if it's associated with that windsock situation, so we got to get the warranty people out there to figure out what exactly they did. We don't know if they tied off of that for that windsock, and that's what's causing our problem.
And you know the PAPI lights were out, are they?
Oh, I'm talking about the 1-3 end. The 3-1 end should be up.
Yeah, I was wondering about 3-1, I'm sorry.
That one should be up.
Oh, 1-3
I'm
is
talking
not?
about 1-3.
Oh.
1-3 is having problems.
Oh, okay, well, we might be related then. Okay, thanks.
Okay, item 6, your new job description.
My new job description. So after 5 years of not having a job description, I finally now have a job description, new title and new duties. So last night, the city council changed my job description to be the Management Services Director / Assistant City Manager. So in addition to the airport and code enforcement, I now have risk management and loss prevention duties for the city, and I also have to do everything the city manager tells me I do, whether that be dealing with whatever. So today was my first day, and we're still trying to figure out what it all means, so I will keep you posted. What it does mean as a direct result for the airport is my salary will now only be half from the airport, so it should result in a net savings for the airport when it comes to salaries.
Are you making more money?
I did get a bit of a raise, yes.
Congratulations, I think.
Or condolences, whichever one's more appropriate, right?
I think
Thank you.
condolences. That's a pretty large description.
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, you also have to do evaluations of employees, and, well, I guess you have to do that anyway.
I got to do that anyway.
Okay, item 7, jet signage and designated parking.
Okay, so in consultation with Gavilan Aviation and the Bickle tenants and Margaret Watt, we are going to try something new out there to try to keep the peace. Margaret indicated that in Arizona, what they do is they have a big blue spot on the ramp, and they have signs that tell the jets to go park on the big blue spot. So we installed new signs along the taxiways that tell them to taxiway the appropriate way to get to the big blue spot and park on the big blue spot. And Ronnie put a big blue spot on the ground. So it should prevent jets from doing UEs in front of Mr. Bickle's building and blowing doors off hinges and blowing motor gliders up in the air and all that other lovely stuff. So hopefully it works. We shall see. My fingers are crossed.
Are they going to end up parking on the Compass Rose?
No.
Isn't it sort of blue?
If they do, I will deal with it personally.
Okay.
call me on a Saturday and Sunday. I will come down and have a conversation with them myself.
Okay. Move on to item 8, old business. Airport maintenance vehicle purchase.
I took the item to the city council on December 2nd. It did not go smoothly. We did receive a split vote on it. It was a 4-1 vote. The mayor voted against it. I don't know why exactly. It kind of wasn't, I really don't know what happened. But the longest story short is it did pass. We are ready to go when the fire department goes. If the fire department hasn't pulled the trigger by March, we will be going it alone and replacing the maintenance vehicle at that point. So it's complete by the fiscal year.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, so
Yes.
are you saying you're going to joint venture with the fire department if they put the station out there?
No, the fire department's looking at replacing several of their fire trucks. And what this, the program we're using is a lease-to-own type program. And we get a much better interest rate if we borrow more money in this program. So if we can go in with $1 million of fire trucks, we're going to get a much better rate than if we go in with a $60,000 maintenance truck. So we're ready to move when they are.
Gotcha.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, item 8B, ACIP grant update.
I apologize for this. We were supposed to have a meeting last week with FSDO, but our consultant had to change the date. That date will be next week, so I really don't have the latest information. I believe, as you already know, but I'll recap it. Our 14 grant, we're closing that out. Our grant number 14, which was 2 years ago. That was the pavement management one and the environmental work for the dirt moving that we did. We're just about done with the dirt moving grant to close that out. We're finishing up a few more things on the ALP and stuff that's required to update all that. And then we'll close that out. And then we are working now on our project number 16 grant, which was $750,000 to do the design work for the runway grant, which is coming in next year, the next several years at $2 million a year.
Okay.
Are we ready to receive other grants? I guess that's not clear. Sometimes you have to be ready in case somebody down the line fails.
We are in position to benefit from other airports not using the grant money, and that is what we are shooting for. Currently, they have us budgeted at several $1 million over the next few years to complete the runway project. It's better for everybody involved if we just do the whole thing at once, because it's going to be cheaper for us and everything else, because we're not paying 3 times the mobilization, et cetera. So in our bid package, we're going to have, the phasing, but we'll have build alternates to do the entire thing. Then come closer to the end of the fiscal year when Congress is either going to take back the money or San Francisco has to give it away, we will be in position to catch whatever money they want to throw at us so that we can proceed. We have matching funds for up to $8.5 million in grants ready to go right now. Actually, about $9.25 million in the bank.
We have that much money in the bank, huh?
We have that much money in that account in the bank, and we could probably scrounge up another $2 million in grant matching funds if we needed to.
900,000 and another 200,000.
Yes. That extra 200,000 would be real tight, but we could probably do it. It'd be just about every penny the airport owns.
So backing up 3 or 4 minutes here, the first segment of our runway rebuild program is 600 and some thousand out of the 2.5 million.
That's the plans, just
Pardon?
the plans.
That's just is that the engineering?
The plant design and engineering. just to get the bid package ready to go out. The runway project itself is expected to come in anywhere from 4 to 8 million. The construction.
But I thought it was 2.5 million to do all of the design.
No,
Was it?
I don't think so.
Okay, so you're saying 600,000 or so to put the whole bid package together to do the total runway renovation?
That is correct.
Okay. Is there a possibility we can get more than that and start the renovation? Is there a segment into the renovation that can be added, kind of like shovel-ready, in case somebody else doesn't have grant funds prepared?
That is what we're doing now. We're getting
You do
the
now?
materials ready,
Okay.
so we're shovel-ready in case we can get extra money.
Okay, got it, I'm with you.
But that's all next year.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, we'll move on to item 9, new business. San Francisco sectional aeronautical chart. I guess we have a guest speaker, Quest Rich Life, on the right-hand pattern.
Yes, Quest is going to make a presentation requesting us to change the San Francisco sectional chart. He believes there's some misleading information on it, and we're bringing it to you to get your way in, and then if so wanted, I believe I do have the authority to get it changed. That's my understanding of the situation.
Okay. I'm Quest Rich Life from Hollister, and I'd like to say hi to the commission members. I was asked to do the presentation by Mike because I approached him and he agreed that it's something good to take a look at. Is this the item to...
Make it change, yeah. It's
Yeah.
either page up or page down, bottom left-hand corner.
Okay. The gist of it is it's really a safety thing, and I'll get into more of that as we proceed here. So it's a small change that I think is a safety enhancement. Let's start out with, you all have your packets? This information should be in there. Let's see here.
It actually isn't, because we got it today. They got their packets last week.
But there was the additional information on the sectional chart today.
I don't know, did she get those in there?
She should have gotten them in
No,
there.
the only thing I got in here is a accident report.
Yeah, an accident report.
Yeah, there was that. There was a bunch of other materials too that.
Double-sided?
Yeah.
Well, let me see if I can get this to work. Everything's in here, Mike? Page down.
Be blocked by the...
There we go. Okay. Well, this would have been in your packet, or you can go by the airport to pick up the packet. Okay, so this is a little bit hard to see. I'm trying to figure out where the Hollister.
Do you happen to have that laser pointer? No?
Can you blow it up?
The clarity's not all that great on it. Well, if you can just look, where I pointed to is the information box for Hollister. Right below that is Christensen Ranch. That's Hollister Airport, Christensen Ranch. That's the information box for Hollister. So, most of you who are pilots have probably already looked at this, but there is an indication on that below the box that's an RP with an asterisk. So now, if you go to the legend of the sectional aeronautical chart,
Might be blocked by that equipment.
whoops. Okay, so this is the legend. It's even more difficult to see, but I'll go up and point to it. What it is it tells what the RP asterisk kind of means. Let me go point to it for you. kind of senseless to try and look at it on there, but on the actual sectional chart, the legend, it has the RP asterisk, which says special conditions exist, see AFD. So if you're a pilot and you're looking at the sectional and you see RP asterisk, then it tells you, well, you might go, well, what does that mean? So you go to the legend and look to see what it means, and then it tells you go to the AFD. So here's the AFD, and okay, so there's the Hollister reproduction from the AFD. Now, is there any way to make that clearer, Mike? It looks like Russian or something.
Zoom it?
Zoom it. What is this?
It's just the nature of the clarity of the.
Where's he getting the?
What is he getting at?
Oh, yeah, he'll probably just tell us. I guess for the non-flyers here. We need to go through
Oh,
this.
there you go. It looks like
Looks nice to me.
So I'm just gonna have to spoon feed it to you. What it says under airport remarks, in that middle section, there's the airport remarks. Down towards the bottom, it has the traffic pattern altitudes for fixed wing and for helicopters, and then it says helicopters right traffic pattern. So that's what it says on there. So if a pilot gets all this way and looks on the chart, looks on the legend, and then goes to the AFD and reads all the way through the remarks, they'll see that there's right-hand traffic for helicopters. I don't know why that's on there. I don't know when it was put on. It could have been 30, 40, 50 years ago. Who knows? But my experience being out there, for a couple thousand hours and instructing and stuff is that pilots and flight instructors are not reading that. They're just seeing that it's an RP. And more times than I care to, deal with, pilots are coming into Hollister and announcing and flying a right pattern because they don't know to look, or they're being lazy or whatever. And I hear that with aircraft that have a flight instructor and a student on board. So they aren't even reading that to see that it's applying to helicopters. They're just go ahead and flying right traffic. And I'm not out there as much as I used to, but when I was, I'd get on the radio and query them. Are you are you a new Cessna type helicopter? What are you? And some would be adamant about sticking to the right pattern. Others would say, "Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll switch over to the left pattern." So I've been out there enough times to see that it's a potential hazard, and I don't think it has to be. And I don't like to have to do the tutorials so often to pilots coming into the area. In October of last year, I went to a flight instructor revalidation clinic that was sponsored by AOPA in San Jose. And the guy was really good. Just a ton of new material that I was eager to learn, and I talked to him about this, and he says, well, you can change that if you want. So if you go to the AFD, to the first page of the AFD, it's not in the packet, but it's inside the front cover of the AFD. There's ways to, send them information for corrections, comments, and charting comments or changes. So that's when I thought, well, maybe we can get this changed, and that's when I approached Mike. You got it? Okay. So I went to the website and I typed this note in to the fellow at back in Virginia, I think it is. Again, it's very difficult to read, but it's a little bit melodramatic and bombastic because I wanted to just kind of make a point to the guy. And a little while later, I got a response back from a guy named Rick Fecht, F-E-C-H-T. This was the response. I'm responding to your request to delete RP from San Francisco sectional chart. This issue has been addressed for other airports in the past and was a topic for consideration at the FAA Aeronautical Charting Forums in 2011 and 12. It was determined to be a pilot educational issue. Well, yeah, but they're not being educated. Consequently, wording was added to or embellished in the FAA Aeronautical Chart User's Guide and in the AeroNav products website in the FAQ section. Additionally, this item is expected to be added to the Aeronautical Information Manual. Then they give a couple links there. Then it says, the easiest solution to this problem would be for the airport manager to delete the remark helicopter right traffic pattern from the airport Form 5010, which is filed once a year, Mike? Okay. And submitted to the FAA National Flight Data Center. Once this remark is deleted, the notation RP asterisk would be deleted from the chart. And it says, if this is not possible, then I would suggest contacting AOPA or the NBAA concerning this issue. Representatives were present at the previous aeronautical charting forums when this topic was discussed and closed. Perhaps they would be interested in reopening this issue. If I can be of further assistance, please contact me. And there's his name down there. So that's where I decided, well, approach Mike. Maybe he can make that change when he updates the 5010. And he suggested he would just talk with AAC and put it before you guys to see what you think. So that's the easiest solution right there, just to change it. Because it's a vestige from a long time ago. I don't think I've ever seen any other airport that I've flown into that's got an RP asterisk which talks about helicopter patterns, makes it so difficult to see that. So, next one, Mike. Okay, well, these are some of the attachments Rick gave to me, sent me. What is the meaning of RP and RP asterisks on VFR charts? RP indicates that there are special conditions or restrictions for traffic, and the pilot should consult the airport facility directory for those special instructions and or restrictions. RP asterisk does not indicate there is right pattern traffic for all aircraft at all times. Next one, Mike. And then this is another thing. That was an attachment. Right traffic information is shown using the abbreviation RP for right pattern, followed by the appropriate runway numbers, RP18. Special conditions or restrictions to the right pattern are indicated by the use of an asterisk, RP asterisk, to direct the pilot to the airport facility directory for special instructions and or restrictions. Okay, so I went in and pulled out 14 CFR section 91-126. And to the left there, it's operations in Class G airspace, which Hollister is. And it just reminds everybody, each pilot of an airplane, and it doesn't say aircraft, it says airplane, which doesn't mean glider, helicopter, airship, whatever. Each pilot of an airplane must make all turns of that airplane to the left, unless the airport displays approved light signals, etc. And the second one is each pilot of a helicopter or a powered parachute must avoid the flow of fixed-wing aircraft. So there's already in the regulations something that tells helicopter pilots to avoid the flow of fixed-wing aircraft. So even if you remove the RP asterisks, the helicopters are just going to continue to do what the regs say, which is to avoid the flow of fixed-wing traffic. And it's not going to have a bunch of yahoos coming in and trying to fly right traffic. So that particular thing about flying left traffic applies to airplanes, and it gives other aircraft potential options. So when it talks about helicopters avoid the flow of fixed-wing traffic, it's up to the PIC of the helicopter to determine how to do that. Okay. Maybe they don't even want to fly right pattern. I've seen some helicopters come all the way from the east over the top of all the buildings and then just land right on the ramp there. So if you look at the realities of Aris and how the helicopters operate at Hollister, they're already avoiding the fixed-wing traffic. They are sometimes flying right patterns, especially in training. They are sidestepping once they're on final to the taxiways. Especially Aris, departs low level from midfield and just heads directly over the Swank Farms there, especially on departure. So they avoid the flow of fixed-wing traffic already. Also, I included in your packet when you pick it up 91-113, which is just the right-of-way rules, so you could refresh yourself on right-of-way rules. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people tell me about right-of-way rules, and there's just a lot of myths. I mean, you got to go read them and see what the right-of-way rules are and how they apply. And there says, well, the glider has a right-of-way over something else. Well, not necessarily. You have to read it closely. There's many different times when the glider does not have the right-of-way over other air traffic. So it seems like maybe, okay, go to the next one, Mike. I think the next is just a continuation of 91-113, yeah. And next one. Okay. This is kind of the kicker for me because this is an accident report from the NTSB that is from a double fatal accident that happened at Crazy Creek Glider Port back in 2009 by a glider and a tow plane who were both returning to the runway, and both were on opposite downwinds and turned base and then turned into each other on final. And so there's, at the bottom is the probable cause, and then you have the rest of the information about the accident. So this approaching a runway from two separate downwinds and with people turning base at the same time and then turning into each other, you know from, you know, the guys that are pilots that when you're head on to something, especially with a glider, it's so thin that you don't have any relative motion, so it's very difficult to detect something coming directly toward you. This glider had a radio, the tow plane did not, and it was a question of the particular day there were strong winds, crosswinds, the glider got into a lot of sink, had to return to the airport quickly, and they didn't see each other even though they had the opportunity. That's kind of like my big fear being out, you know, like I said, I tow for the operation now. I don't do much instruction with them, but this idea of being on a downwind and somebody else being on the opposite downwind and then turning onto the base and then not communicating or not seeing and then both turning final at the same time and having a midair. That's my greatest fear. And it goes hand in hand with just the realities of what the pilots do. Some just come in and fly that right pattern. And I just get, you know, in the past, just really irritated at the fact that they're potentially putting the people who are flying the pattern correctly in harm's way. So,
Can I ask a question?
yeah.
Have you seen any planes flying a right-hand pattern? I've never seen any. Not one time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You know,
A right-hand
a
pattern?
right-hand pattern, especially the 3-1 when they're coming in from the east. And
I've seen it. I've seen it.
yeah.
You have? Really?
Yeah.
I never
When
had
you're
that.
out there every day for hundreds of hours and stuff, you see it. And then, you know, like I said, I got to the point where I was getting on the radio and just like wanting to tell them, hey, go. And then usually there's like, okay, well, then they'll just overfly to enter the pattern on the left side. But some were just adamant. No, the chart says right pattern. I'm staying in the right pattern. And the thing is that because just going back to the, you know, original reason that was put on there, I don't know. It's been there for 30, 40, 50 years. Who knows why? But why is it there? I mean, maybe there was helicopter training at some point in Hollister years ago. But
So
I don't think.
can I?
Yeah.
You've said this several times. It's been there 30 or 40 or 50 years. The RP star has not been there 50 years. The RP on sectionals, I think, has only been a period in the last 20 years or so.
Okay.
Because when I was trained 30 years ago, I never, ever
There's
heard
no
of an RP.
No RP. Well, the charts have
So-
changed over
so,
time.
Yeah, they've
so,
changed.
Yeah.
The right-hand pattern for helicopters, I wish we had a helicopter pilot here, do we? Somehow or other, I thought I recalled that was sort of like a standard thing, that helicopters typically flew the opposite pattern from the fixed wing.
Well, I've been doing some, you know, helicopter training at San Carlos and also Watsonville.
So what do they do?
Yeah, in San Carlos, the Enstroms fly right traffic. I take that back. No, because actually to runway 30, the fixed wing folks are flying right traffic, so the helicopters fly left traffic. We're flying. We're taking off and making a left turn over Highway 101 and paralleling Highway 101 and come in and make it a left base and final. But it's a controlled airport. you know.
Yeah, well, and that, yeah, so that doesn't really count.
Yeah.
So the note about helicopters right traffic, that's what you mean has probably been there for 50 years?
It's been there for a long time for unknown reason.
Well, I assume the reason is because that was typical helicopter pattern at a non-towered airport.
It might have been at one time. I mean, now the reg says, you know,
You're saying now it
helicopter
just
pilots
says
shall
avoid 'em.
avoid the flow of fixed-wing traffic. You know, that's up to the PIC to determine to avoid the flow of fixed-wing traffic. But it's not so much a helicopter issue as it's a stupid pilot trick
Well,
issue right now.
I agree
Yeah.
with you that any fixed wing, whether glider or powered, ought to be in the same pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah. Left traffic.
Left traffic.
Right.
So anyway, I had approached Mike. He thought that it would be possible to do, and it would be overall a good thing to do. And so, I mean, he just thought I could present it better and let you decide if it's something that you want to do. I don't know how many cycles it would take. And when that form is filed, you know, once it's filed and then the update cycle for the charts and update cycle for the AFD.
Years.
Well, once you update the 5010 and it goes into,
FAA land for at least a year.
okay,
And
well,
then
it's
they'll
better.
spit it out on the chart eventually.
You know, because so it's what he was saying is it's going to go into the database or whatever for the AFD, which is then going to affect how the chart is printed. And that may take a while, but you know, it's better to start now if it's something that is worth doing. So
Do you know of any other airport that has RP Star, uncontrolled
I
airport?
don't. I mean, try and find one. You know, I think it's an antiquated thing.
Seems like that would be a question to ask the FAA guy.
Well, evidently what he said is when they had this chart conference, it came up and they closed it. I guess nobody thought it was a problem, but we have to educate the pilots more. Well, how many mid-airs or potential mid-airs do you want to have before the pilots get educated? Just take the thing off there. If outfits that come in here with helicopters that, you know, mostly training, some private guys, and of course CAL FIRE and stuff, they know what they're doing. And they may fly right traffic. They may end up flying right traffic. And a lot of them do fly right traffic, and then they sidestep to the taxiway. But I tell you, you know, they have so much, you know, the few hours I have in helicopters, they don't want to be around the fixed wing guys, want to get away from them, stay away from them, and they have the ability to do that. So this is just a question of going back to that midair and the potential for that. Now, I flew several hundred hours towing gliders down at Turf Soaring, which is probably the busiest airspace I've ever been in down in Arizona. 3 parallel runways, 2 crosswind runways, hundreds of operations a day. And we flew right traffic in the tow planes, and the gliders were flying left traffic. That was the safest way to do it down there because the gliders usually landed on, I think it's 2-5 left or 2-5 center. We landed on 2-5 right. But occasionally I was coming into land and there's a glider on each final, you know. So there was no crossing over or turning. If you're turning final, I mean, I remember turning final with a glider right off my wing because he's going to the center, I'm going to the right, and then there's another glider going to the left. So you're not crossing, you know, you're not turning on the same final. But anyway, it's not a big deal, but I think it's irritated me enough over the last few years that, and now I found a way to do it. And so if everybody's on board, I don't see why to leave it on there.
I may make more comment. Just another comment, maybe. I'm fully in agreement with you that I think the chart ought not to have RP Star on it because pilot education that's a cop-out. It's like saying, well, it's in a reg somewhere, so of course you know. And so I have no problem with the idea of getting it off there. The only issue I would have is I wish we could separate them and just say get it off the chart and leave the note for pilot or for helicopter information. But if it's not needed for the helicopter operations, then maybe and it's currently linked somehow or other in the vast connections.
That's what it sounds like. I mean, unless you have some particular reason, maybe a noise issue or something, and then you really want to have, you want to corral the helicopters into flying a particular way, that reg about surface operations on Class G pretty much dictates that it's a PIC decision to avoid the flow of fixed-wing traffic, you know, however they want to do it.
So anyway,
Yeah.
I would, if that's the only way to get it to go way off the chart, then I'd,
And that, yeah.
based on what I hear, I guess I'd go on with that. Or
And I don't
support
know
that.
how we want to proceed from here. I don't know if you want to take a vote on it, or discuss it, or bring it up again, so
Do
that's
we,
kind of up to you guys.
Do we want to entertain a motion and vote on advising you to remove the RP asterisk?
I would encourage you to do that, yes.
I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, I have a motion, I have a second.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Can we have any more discussion?
Yes. You have some more discussion?
What, Mike, you have to fill out a 5010
Annually,
annually. When you,
but I can do it more than annually. if
when you
something
fill that
changes.
out, where exactly does it go?
What we'll do is remove that sentence about helicopters are gonna fly right wing.
Right
We
traffic
just-
pattern.
Yeah, sorry, I'm sick. I'm really sorry, I'm sick.
I think,
I
I
can barely
understand.
breathe at the moment, but I'd remove that sentence, which would automatically remove the need for the RP asterisk, which would remove the RP asterisk.
From what documents?
The airport directory,
And the sectional?
it's, once we remove the sentence from the airport directory, it will remove the letters from the sectional. They claim.
And you said this takes quite a long time to do?
It will probably take, I'm guessing they don't update the sectional every year, right?
well, every 6 months, actually,
Oh, they do?
the sectional, and then the AFD is, of course, about every 6 weeks.
Okay. So
But-
then I would expect the FAA to take a year to process it and then update the sectional. And then I would expect probably anywhere from 3 to 5 years for all the pilots to go buy new sections.
Right.
And you know, there's, in case you don't remember, of course, in the AFD, every time it comes out, is a section on any changes in the sectional aeronautical charts. And then anything that doesn't make it into the AFD, of course, is NOTAMed. So it could go, I don't know if a deletion would go into the NOTAM system. It might. It might actually show up.
They may put a note in.
But what I'm hearing is the request would go to a higher authority than us. And if in fact it was implemented, we would have some people in our court.
The request will be going to Caltrans Aeronautics to
Okay.
forward to the FAA.
Yeah, it's a Caltrans form, right? Yeah.
Okay,
So-
thank you.
And it's not so much as a request, because we control what's on the 5010. If I want to put watch for turkeys crossing the runway, I put it on there and it winds up in that book.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried, I guess.
I'll take care of it.
Thanks a lot.
I'll have to look at it. What's in text? Okay, item 9B is budget review.
Yes.
This is-
We're entering the budget season, so I figured it'd be a good time to go over the budget with you. So which one would you like to start with first? They were all totally clear and you have no questions, right?
Yeah, I've got
I have
some,
one.
I've got some questions. On the budget report, I guess, I'm not sure I can read all
Okay.
this stuff here, but on the first page, it says it's ending 1/31/2014.
Yes.
Is that true?
When you run the report, no matter what day you are that month, it always ends on the last day of whatever month you run it in.
I see. I looked at a couple things on here, trying to figure out what
What you're looking at?
period activity, fiscal activity, and variance, unfavorable in parentheses, and percent remaining. Is this a menu you get to select to
No.
put on here? Maybe I'll bring your attention to two items. Number one is fuel.
Yeah.
And just, we all know that the current quote budget for fuel, this is fuel flow fee is $12,000.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're talking revenue.
Revenue, right.
I was down in our expenditure. Okay, got it.
Okay, and the period activity is $1,200. Nothing wrong with that. It says the fiscal activity. I assume fiscal activity is the activity summarized to date for this fiscal year.
Year to date.
Starting October 1st.
Year to date,
Year to date.
starting
Okay.
July 1st.
So if this is into January, we got 4 months.
Right.
33% through. If we're really on target, it ought to be $8,000.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with that, but it says the unfavorable variance is $3,200.
And that's the,
And we're down 27%. Those numbers don't jive.
what they're saying is that's how much more money you need to make what you budgeted. To make the 12,000 that we said we were gonna make.
That's why it's
The
showing as.
title is, of the column is misleading.
Yes. And uneditable.
Unedible?
Uneditable.
Edible? Okay.
That is financial talk.
Let's go down to, the next one says salaries, regular. Now, here's something that ought to be kind of like
Where is that?
1/12 every month, ought to kind of roll along, right? So if you got $190,000 in salaries, and it says the period activity is $8,000, first off, that doesn't quite make sense. And if the fiscal activity, which is the year-to-date, after 4 months, which is a third of the year, ought to be over about $60,000, and it shows up as 104. How do you get a hit on salary
That was one of that.
when you put that together? And then the variance is positive. It seems to me like it ought to be, it's supposed to be negative, not positive. The headings are wrong.
But in financial land, you enter revenue as a negative and expenditures as positives. And I encourage you to ask a CPA why, but
My point
it drives
was,
me nuts because I have to do the budget about 6 times.
My point is, I don't see the value in the document, so, anyway,
Okay.
that's the end of my comment.
We do appear to be slightly over budget on regular salaries, and I don't know exactly why. I can figure that out.
But you're under budget for the last month.
I don't think the period is a month. I think the period is a week. So in some weeks, there's a salary hit, and then in the non-paycheck week, there's not. I don't know what the period is, but I don't think it's the month.
Okay.
I think it's the billing cycle.
Well, actually, the percent remaining is about right, because it's a
The
little
what?
over a half.
The what?
Right? The percent remaining, 44.96% for salaries. That's about right.
It's pretty close.
Isn't it?
We're only 4 months into it. That's
Well,
1/3.
No, we're
Well,
6
July,
months into it.
September,
180,
October,
about
November, December.
$60,000.
We're into 7 months. Almost. We're in 7 months, from
Into
July
it?
to January. Well, the state is,
We're not on federal fiscal year. We start our fiscal year July 1.
yeah, July. So that's about right.
So,
So it's pretty close, but it does
Yeah.
look maybe a little high.
so all the numbers and percent remaining, if it was all straight line stuff, ought to be 50%.
Pretty close to 50%.
Yeah. I have another question on the very last page, on the total revenue, total expense. That's again, it says the fiscal activity for revenue was 1.243 million, whatever it was. And the expense was 929,000. And it shows that we're ahead 929,729, but I don't follow these percentages again.
Well, they're skewed because we closed out the Building 25 fund and transferred that $800,000
Okay.
into this fund.
Oh,
So that's a huge amount of quote-unquote revenue that's just skewing everything.
okay.
And that's why it's showing the percentages are way off.
That's the transfers in that shows on here?
Yes. That was the remainder of the Building 25 money.
Yeah.
And why is that just shown in here as just revenue? I thought that was like a reserve fund or something.
Well, that's on the other sheet of paper.
Yeah.
On this sheet of paper, it's revenue. I don't understand CPA land. I'm not a CPA.
Plus is minus and minus is plus.
I don't understand counting revenue more than once, but I'm assured it's the proper way to do this. To me, it's revenue when you cash the check from the insurance company. After that, it's no longer revenue. But apparently, when you move it to fund, it's revenue for that fund. Or so it's been explained to me.
Well, I can believe that. And why did we move it to that fund?
Because we're moving it into our FAA reserved for the FAA matching funds.
So it has to
In
go through
anticipation.
this before it goes to that?
Well, it had to move from Fund 228
Yeah,
into Fund 601, which is this.
yeah.
And now we have to move it from our cash balance.
I just wonder why it couldn't go direct to wherever it was going.
They didn't want to do it that way.
Oh,
I tried. I really did try.
okay. All right.
They want 2 memos from me.
Okay.
So we still more questions?
Yes. Go ahead.
Go ahead, are you still
No,
talking?
I don't have a question.
You got more? Everybody
Want
else?
to move on?
Well, I had this other thing, which is this balance sheet or whatever.
The other thing which is the balance sheet tells you how much money is quote-unquote in the bank. So the first line where it says claim on cash,
Yeah,
1,252,704.07,
yeah,
that is our cash balance at the bank.
okay,
Now, some of that is committed.
okay. But then down at the bottom here, there's a total that says 8 million.
Yeah, that's counting the property values and the hangar values.
Where do they show?
I deleted them so that I got everything on one page.
Oh, so, no wonder it wouldn't add up. Okay.
But they show up above, underneath claim on cash.
Some,
It shows that we have, building values of 3 million something.
Yeah.
That's 3 million something.
yeah.
Land value of whatever that is.
Of 126,000.
Dollar signs and commas and
Which
periods.
is a little odd for 375 acres, only worth $126,000, but
Yeah.
it's a little odd.
That's the way I see it, but I'm not an assessor.
Is the building number a depreciated number?
I do not know.
There's an allowance for depreciation down near the bottom of that first section.
Where are you at? On the front page?
Yeah,
Really?
Oh, yeah, depreciate.
there's,
Oh,
in fact, it's,
Revenues under over expenses.
that's $5 million negative. No way is that going to all add up to 8 million. Okay, I'll stop asking
The
questions.
goal on this was to tell you how much cash was in the bank.
Which is 1.2 million.
1.2 million.
Okay.
Of that big number next to it, the 252,710.36, is not spoken for. So that's our true liquid cash in the bank amount for the airport.
oh,
But this building 25 fund,
Is spoken for. It goes down at the bottom.
so, I mean, that's in and out.
It's not going out. It's
Well-
just getting spoken for. It's going to become an equity account down at the bottom where it says fund balance reserved for FAA match. I have to move it out of that 1.2 into there. So we're going to wind up with about 900 something in there ready for grants.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm anticipating at the end of the fiscal year there to be somewhere between 250 to 300,000 liquid in the account. not spoken for reserves.
That's that claim on cash number.
Yes.
Mhm.
What?
Well, I mean, what do we start, you're saying cash that's not spoken for. At the beginning of the fiscal year, what did we have?
I think it was 198 when we started.
Oh, okay, so
It's going up.
we've gained a little bit,
Yes.
okay. But
And if I
50,000.
spend every penny on this other sheet that we budgeted to spend, that's what we're gonna wind up with. But I believe that we're not gonna spend every penny on
We'll
the
even
other
be
sheet.
better, yeah,
We're gonna do better than that.
okay. I'm done, thank you.
Okay, this next item, budget schedule, what is that for? To discuss
Yeah,
the airport
so, hang on one second, let me get it out.
budget schedule.
So we started the budget cycle today, at 2 o'clock this afternoon. That's why I had to run out of the air show meeting. We need to have our budgets entered in the computer by February 26th.
Oh,
So I'm proposing at the bottom of this, as you see, a special meeting for the budget review on February 11th, 12th, and 13th. So I'll get it all into the computer the way I want it. And that way I can run it by you guys and fine tune whatever you think needs fine tuning before I'm locked out and it gets moved on to council. If we wait for our regular scheduled meeting, you'll have no input on it. So that's why I'm proposing having that special meeting.
okay.
You guys just need to tell me which date you want to do, 11, 12, or 13. A Tuesday, a
Let's see.
Wednesday, or a Thursday.
The 11th is a Tuesday, huh?
Would this be
11th is a
an
Tuesday.
evening meeting?
Yeah.
Yes.
I prefer 11th or 12th.
Okay. Give me a motion. Give me a day.
The 11th.
The 11th? Does that work
It's a
for
Tuesday.
everybody? Tuesday, the 11th?
13th is a,
Okay. We will update you on the location. It may have to be out at the airport if this room's not available, but we'll do it then. So that's what the budget schedule item is.
okay. Are we still gonna have the regular meeting on the 26th? No, huh?
Yes.
Oh, we will? Okay. Okay, items for next agenda. Yeah, well, this vote for a new chairman, we're not gonna do that tonight, are we? That's just a reminder that it's due in June, unless you wanna vote tonight. I'm sick of this job.
Whatever you folks want to do.
It's supposedly due in June, but
Okay.
I think we concluded last time, we'd let me sit it out for another few months.
June it is.
Okay. Because I
I
can't,
will add June to that item, and we'll keep it on here till June.
you can't re-vote me in because it'd be 2 years. Can't run consecutive 2 years. Good
Got
call.
it.
Okay,
We could always amend the bylaws.
what's that?
We could always amend the bylaws,
Oh.
chairman for life.
That's a good question. Should we be looking at that? Do our bylaws tie into the city council? And since the city council is reconstituted with a mayor now and only 4 districts, is anybody worrying about our bylaws?
Your bylaws, the only thing that's tied in is who's seating where.
Yeah,
And I believe several of you are coming due in December.
but it's written into the bylaws, right? And it's based on,
There was a modification of the bylaws with the new mayor because you lost one council seat.
that's been made?
And, yeah, that was made. They did all that when they did the mayor stuff. And so now there are effectively 4 of you tied to 2 council seats. The 2 county positions and 2 city positions are tied to 2 city council seats. So when those come due, 4 of you are up. So I would encourage you all to check with Jerry to see who's due. I believe several of you are due in December.
Yeah, I have an
Last
email
month.
into Jerry Johnson about that.
This coming December? Oh, I got it.
Okay.
I could sell the city by then.
But I thought
Airport by then?
any changes to the commission should be made by the commission, I believe, right? That's how we revised them before.
City council,
Has to approve what we recommend. Because we revised the heck
okay,
out of it.
I'll ask Jerry.
Because we modified them quite a bit there about 5 or 6 years ago to, remember? Especially on the finance definitions,
We vote on the recommendation.
and they were implemented.
When we're up, we just have to reapply, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, are we up to items for next agenda? So, let's see. We need an update on the skydive center?
No,
Probably not. Disc purchase, no. Maintenance person, no. Taxi sign lighting, do we need that?
nope.
No.
Oh, that is it.
Okay.
What is it? Are the signs up?
What signs?
Not-
The jet?
Signage.
We don't need any under A, do we?
Signage. Progress. Was that
That
your?
was supposed to be runway lights.
Well, that was runway lights, sorry.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry, you're right. Item 7.
All our taxiway signs are fine. We replaced the majority of them.
Yeah. Okay.
Would you want to give us any input on your new job, how you're doing or anything?
I think you'll be able to read it on my face. I'm going to add the airport capital improvement update, because I'll have met with the FAA by then. And we're also going to talk about a fire station.
Okay.
And a restaurant?
Is the vehicle being continued?
I'll update you on the vehicle when we take action.
Okay.
But that's all for the 26th agenda. The next agenda is just the budget on the 11th.
Okay.
Okay?
Special budget. Okay. I guess that's it.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I have a motion, second? And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting closed.